cabinet reshuffle is expected since Cyril Ramaphosa emerged victorious for a second term as ANC President in December. Fikile Mbalula, who is a minister and now the ANC Secretary General, says that vacancies in the cabinet as well as the outcomes of the elective conference necessitate a shakeup. Let's discuss. We're joined by Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast, political analyst. Dr. Great to have you with us as always. So the ministers who aren't now part of the National Executive Committee are seen to be on the chopping board. Pravin Gordhan, Dr. Naledi Pandor among them. Should the President consider, and will he consider, popularity within the ANC?
Thank you very much for having me, Francis, and the compliments of the season. Obviously, with Mbalula having been elected, that is going to make room for the President to think about restructuring his cabinet. But I think he needs to be very circumspect in the sense that he needs to be strategic and not be tactical, because there are those ministers who did not support him in the build-up to the elective conference that we are coming from. I know that it is adjourned. So if he's hasty, he might come across to be purging them if he doesn't include them. So I think if I was him, the strategy will be to appoint someone to stand in for Mbalula and not, appoint all the ministers that are needed. So you appoint someone to stand in for Mbalula while you are adopting the wait-and-see approach. Whether those ministers who did not support you will resign by themselves as opposed to you dismissing them, because he needs to see the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture? The bigger picture is that he needs to improve the electoral performance of the ANC in the upcoming general election. So he needs those people who might not have supported him to campaign for him, because whether he likes it or not, he cannot go to KZN by himself. I'm not saying that there are no-go areas, but he needs those people who belong to radical economic transformation, who might be crowd pullers for him and assist him in terms of improving the electoral performance of the party.
So I'm glad you've brought this up. Let's look at the likes of Lindiwe Sisulu, who's been very critical of the President. She's a minister, and Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma voted against him in terms of that expert panel report on Phala. Some people have believed that he's been too indecisive and weakened by the fact that he's had to placate his political enemies, as it were, to keep the power balance in the ANC. So you're saying that still that balance needs to be considered. He shouldn't boot them out. They should leave of their own accord.
You know what, Francis? I like the clip that you played earlier on. And I like his response when he said that the party, I'm just paraphrasing what he said, that they need to smoke the peace pipe, let bygones be bygones. It doesn't mean that because people did not support him, they are enemies. I think that, in a way, is an extension of an olive branch, because he needs to make sure that in pursuing this a renewal project of the ANC, the party functions as a unified force. The party functions as a unit. Therefore, he needs to be seen to be reaching out to those people who did not support him. That is an expression of a maturity, as opposed to be coming across to be purging people, because that is going to escalate the conflict within the party.
But what would you say to those who say, what sort of president will endure the defiance, say, of Lindiwe Sisulu, who has undermined the judiciary, who has undermined the president himself? On this show, in a pre-recorded interview, she raised serious concerns about his funding. Does that not make him look weak?
I think, Francis, it's still early days to make that call. When people are campaigning for elections, they say all sorts of things. So I think he needs to smoke the peace pipe, sing Kumbaya now. The elections are over, and try to reach out to those people. Because, as I indicated, he needs to make sure that he he retains the state power. Because without the state power, and in order for him to retain the state power, he needs to be held by those people. If he doesn't have access to the state power, how is he going to reduce his ideas into a practice as a president? So he needs all in sundry.
And back to the likes of Pravin Gordhan, Naledi Pandor, should he keep them in?
Yeah, those are his henchmen and people who are supporting him. I don't think that he's going to turn a blind eye to them, especially Pravin Gordhan, even though he has not been performing according to some people. But it's going to be interesting how he's going to make a call in that regard, because we can see that SOEs are falling apart. We've got power outages, and Pravin Gordhan is responsible for that.
All right, so some of your colleagues have predicted a very fiery start because there's unfinished business at the start of this year in terms of the ANC conference itself, but also opposition parties still wanting Phala Phala to be redressed. So that could be a fiery start to Parliament. And how's it going to play out? I mean, for people who missed the national conference blow by blow, can you explain how the Ethics Committee report on Phala Phala, on the President, happened to be deferred yet again?
Yeah, I think it leaves much to be desired that the ANC is not going to examine the issue of Phala Phala tomorrow. That, the Mbalula or people are supporting the president trying to cover up for him, because that goes against the notion of transparency. I mean, in the build-up to the conference, we heard that the matter was going to be tabled at the conference, but now people are speaking a different language. So I think this is going to be used as a political battleground by opposition parties. You see, the president has won the legal battle, but he has not won he has won the political battle, but not the legal battle. So the fact that he has won the conference does not mean that things are going to go according to plan, because the ruling of the Constitutional Court might be against him. It can go either way.
All right. Thank you very much. As always, Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast, political analyst.